has reached critical level. Tempo has reached critical level.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another segment of AV Automatic Victory, where we all win together through peace, love, and transparency. And welcome to another great podcast of Matters of the People, where we talk about all main issues that are not being discussed through mainstream media and through other media platforms, not just in the United States, but also worldwide. Before I start this podcast episode of the horrors of white terrorism, I want to give a huge shout out towards the jury in Minnesota that did the right thing in convicting that damn idiot, that damn bum. He is one of the 4 people that needed to be convicted. So shout out to the Minnesota jury for convicting Devon for the crime that he committed against George Floyd. I'm happy that justice was served today, as this was a case that really should not have taken all the way up to a whole damn year to actually get done. Nonetheless, very grateful that justice was served, but we cannot allow this one great day of Devon to be convicted. There are 3 other officers that do need to get served justice and actually end up being in court as well. So now that I got that out the way, this is going to be a real interesting, very interesting live stream. Very interesting live stream. One quick note though, I'm actually doing this live stream on my phone. For whatever reason, the laptop is having some difficulties. So I decided to actually do my live stream on my actual phone. So if you guys see me like kind of more so in terms like a rectangle or anything like that, don't worry. I'll still be able to see you all's comments. I'll still be able to actually see you guys if you guys want to hop on the live at some point as I break down exactly the horrors of white terrorism, which is going to be tonight's topic. So the way I'm going to do this live stream podcast episode is simply put, I'm going to break this down into 3 parts. First, I'm going to explain what white terrorism is, as well as explain on like some various examples of white terrorism, not just within the United States, but also worldwide. Then I'm going to talk about the evolution of white terrorism. You know, how did it get from, say, like slavery into white terrorism, where a case would be, or whether it really is white terrorism, because, you know, one could argue that white terrorism has never really evolved. It's just become more evident with our smartphones, with our tablets, with our ability to actually record not just police brutalities of wrongful, arrests and wrongful killings, not just towards Black people, but also towards all people, anyone that's kind of faced, the brutal end or the brutal perspective of the police force. It can be, United States government, federal government, where a case may be. And then lastly, we're going to talk about, solutions to end white terrorism and whether or not it's something that can be eradicated, which I personally believe that it can. And more importantly, what are those steps? What does that look like? What does it look like for white terrorism to no longer be an issue, not just towards people of melanin descent and not just towards people in the United States, but how can we end injustice? How can we end, inequality towards all people? Because at the end of the day, we're all a human race. And I feel like until we actually get to the core of the issue, we're not going to really be able to move forward, or rather build equity among established and throughout equitable communities throughout this life form that we live in called Earth. So let's start off with the obvious question. What is white terrorism? Well, I'm going to make it as a whole. You probably heard it from a whole bunch of activists. You probably heard it from a whole bunch of people on Instagram and social media, where it case may be. But I'm going to keep it very short and sweet and straight to the point. White terrorism is when you have a person that is able to utilize their particular white privilege along within a society that has been mainly structured by white supremacy institutions. So a perfect example of this would be the police departments, mainly in any particular, whether it's a police officer, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's, it doesn't even have to necessarily be a police officer. That's obviously the most biggest example of a white terrorist, so to speak. But it doesn't just have to necessarily involve, like, say, a police officer or someone within the criminal justice system. It can be, say, a white lawyer that's trying to arrest or at least get more people into, say, like prison, which is actually a big thing. You should definitely look it up. If you're ever interested, just type in prisoner industrial complex, and you'll actually be able to see not just how police officers are involved in getting more black people into prisons, but you're actually be able to understand in terms of why is it that our whole entire law system. So when people talk about criminal justice reform, a lot of people tend to focus on the law enforcement aspect, which is a very, very big problem in this country. But when I'm talking about criminal justice reform, and some of you guys or my subscribers out there who have seen about about 4 to 5 podcast episodes ago, I actually had a very, very good podcast with my great brother, Officer Brown. You should definitely check that out. But the point that I'm making is that white terrorism doesn't just have to involve the police. It can involve with any authority. It can be dealing with a lawyer. It can be dealing with a judge. It can be dealing with state, local, even federal government. Any authority that has the ability to negatively affect a person and ruin their life to make it that much worse, particularly when you talk about a person that is exercising their particular white privilege, plus with the fact that they are utilizing their authority with that particular institution that has been supported by racism, white supremacy, wherever the case may be, fascism, wherever the case may be. That is exactly what white terrorism is. And the reason why so many people get so caught up in not understanding what white terrorism is because a lot of times, a lot of people like to say, oh, there's no such thing, as white terrorism. That doesn't make any sense. White people can't be terrorists. White people, they're peaceful. They never done anything in their lives. All this whole white terrorism and racism and inequality talk is just nonsense. Tell that to Indians who lost, not only did they lose their land, but they lost their wives, they lost their husbands, they lost their children out in the cold. When Christopher Columbus, who was one of the known white terrorists out there in those daggone U.S. history books that people want to keep on teaching our young kids from all the way from elementary school all the way to freaking high school. Okay, perfect example. Tell that to people that were enslaved, regardless whether they were slaves in America, whether they were slaves in the islands, or a case may be. Tell them that that white terrorism doesn't exist. I mean, hell, tell that to the various cases that we've had over the past 10 to plus generations and generations of cases where as soon as a white male or a white individual shoots up a place, doesn't matter where he shoots up a place, in a movie theater, in a church, in a jury duty, whatever the case may be, you could find a lot more cases of a white individual doing some fucked up ass shit to black people or to all people. Why? Because of two factors. One, because that person knows that he or she is going to get off. That's one scenario. Or two, more likely, if that individual doesn't get off easily, then that person or that individual is going to know that the system is going to work in their favor, as opposed to, say, like a person that is not white, that is not within a white institution or white family, or case may be, rather than face that same crime that the first person did. That person that's not white is going to face a much more longer sentence. In a lot of cases, that person might end up being shot or killed or doing something worse to them. And so that's really where white terrorism comes into play. That's how the term actually, in truth, white terrorism isn't just something new. It's not some new construct, right? It's not some new, hip word that people are just now starting to come into sense, or whatever case may be. It's always been around. It's been around ever since white people decided to come on over, since the beginning of time, since they decided to feel like that whatever they feel like can be theirs is theirs. And by doing that, they have done it through myriad of negative, impactful ass ways of doing it. So that's essentially what white terrorism is. Shout out to the one person that's actually in this live stream as well. I do appreciate you watching and listening in on my podcast as well, because you could have chose to go to any other video or podcast on YouTube or vice versa, and you decided to come to mine. So please let me know if you have any comments or some questions in regards to the subject, and I would be more than happy to elaborate or anything that I discuss within this podcast. So let's go on over. Let me check the comments as well. So no comments as of yet. And guys, do not be afraid to share any comments, or even if you guys have any questions as I'm breaking down, the horrors of white terrorism, right, KCB. Because again, I am not going after white people. Don't get me wrong. People are people. People are going to do some good things, and people are going to do some fucked up bad things too. But at the end of the day, we have to be willing to have these conversations in a much more respectful, proactive, and positive manner. Because if we don't have these conversations out on the internet or the social media, where case may be, just like how I'm using this great platform in StreamYard via YouTube, in order to have these cool conversations with you guys, then we're gonna just keep on having the same issue over and over and over again. And I've just about had enough of it. But let me adjust my phone mount 1 second, because as I said before, I don't know how it looks on your I don't know if you guys are on your phone or on your laptop, but I'm actually on my phone. Usually I do my live streams. I usually do my live streams on the laptop, but for some reason it's not allowing me to use a laptop. But it seems like everything is working up to par now. Seems like there's no issues, or in case may be. But let's head on over to the next topic of discussion. Has white terrorism evolved? I wouldn't necessarily say that white terrorism has evolved, because essentially white terrorism is just another. White terrorism is a byproduct. It is one of the 5 to 6 byproducts of white supremacy. Shout out to the 2 viewers in the live stream. I appreciate you being willing to hop into my live. I do appreciate that. So to have the question on has it evolved? If we're talking in terms of the ways that people that commit acts of white terrorism has evolved, to say like people of melanin descent or people that are non-white, or a case may be, yeah, in a sense it's involved, but it hasn't evolved. I'll say that it hasn't evolved in the sense to where it's gotten worse. In my personal opinion, I feel like now it's gotten to a point to where it's still the same. We're just now being more exposed to it because our advancement of our technology, a lot more people are more active in terms of where they're going, whether they're hanging out with their friends, or even if they're out by themselves, like doing daily things, the case may be. So I personally don't necessarily believe that white terrorism itself has evolved, but what I will say is that the way that the acts of white terrorism have evolved, hell yeah, because you got to remember back when slavery first started, throughout many, many generations and centuries ago, where our ancestors actually had to deal with, slavery, not just physical slavery, but also mental and spiritual slavery. At the time, the most that our ancestors had to deal with was, pretty much them separating us, them essentially, it's graphic, but I'm gonna get real. This is one of the reasons why I started Matters of People, because I'm being transparent. It just got to the point to where you had acts of our ancestors, being separated by skin tone, um, having white people actually rape our own ancestors, male, female, even children. The list goes on and on and on and on. So I wouldn't necessarily say that it's evolved significantly, but the fact that it's still occurring, the fact that we're still having to have cases of, say, police officers, and mind you, it doesn't, like Tua pointed out earlier, it doesn't even have to be someone that's in a authoritative, a profession, or it doesn't even have to be an authoritative figure. It could be any particular white person that has the ill will intent to harm a person that is non-black, simply because one, that person is going to be protected by a system that has been man-structured by white supremacy, and two, that person has ill will intent to actually harm that particular person that is non-black. So to answer the question, even though I have gone through a whole little spiral there for a second, I don't feel like white terrorism has necessarily evolved that much. I just feel like now white terrorism is being more exposed now, simply because one, we've evolved as a society in terms of our advancements of our technology, and two, at the same time, I feel like my generation is very good on looking out for each other and not pulling up with any other crap. Now, that's not to say that the previous generations they weren't bold and that they didn't take any actions to stop slavery and try to help each other, because they did. A perfect example of that was the civil rights movement. Even before the civil rights movement, we still had great abolishers like, say, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman. The list goes on in terms of those people who not only took action to help, all people be able to live in the country that where we live in now, but also we have so many people that risk their own lives and their own quality of life just so that mainly black people and all people can actually enjoy the freedom, or rather not have history repeat itself in terms of slavery. So I personally feel like white terrorism has necessarily evolved. It's just become more exposed. It's just been more exposed, to be personally honest with y'all. And finally, wrapping up the live stream, what are some solutions that can stop it? What are some things that us as the people can do to prevent white terrorism from occurring within a daily, monthly, yearly, and further on problem? Well, a good example of that is what happened today. So for those of you that don't know, one of the officers that actually killed George Floyd in Minnesota was actually charged guilty for all three of the counts that the Minnesota court had charged against the officer. Now, I wanted that fool to get charged for first-degree murder, but it ended up being 2 counts of second-degree murder, second-degree manslaughter, and then third-degree murder. So more likely than not, I think Devon, and I'm probably going to pronounce his name. I know it's Officer Devon. Officer Devon is probably going to get somewhere between 55 to 75 years in prison. Me personally, I feel like they should just give him life imprisonment. But that's it's a good start. It's a great start. Shout out to the 3 people that's in the live stream. So having scenarios to where we actually make people that are committing acts of white terrorism into justice and actually putting them into jail, getting them convicted, and actually giving them real sentences. And when I say real sentences, I mean like long ass sentences to where it's either 50 plus years to life or just do life in prison. Because I'm going to tell you what's not going to solve the issue. What's not going to solve the issue is if you have a case like, say, George Zimmerman, for example, who shoots a young black man just because he's afraid of his life, even though he was much bigger than that boy, even though he was much more stronger and he knew what he was doing. He gets off into the cradle. Okay? What's not going to solve white terrorism is having white people be so oblivious into thinking that racism doesn't exist. Okay? Let me make this shit clear right now. Racism is a power dynamic. Okay? the ability to have people to act in a certain way, talk in a certain way, dress in a certain way, operate in a certain way. That is essentially the power dynamic of racism. Okay. And I can't stand it when people be like, oh, he called this person the N word, or oh, he called this person so. That's racism. No, 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 no. Now that's racist. However, racism is the power structure, aka the power dynamic of a person being able to dictate how you live, how you talk, how you interact, pretty much how you go about your life. So that is essentially what racism is. And one of the other ways that us as the people can actually cease white terrorism and thus lessen racism, not just in the United States but also worldwide. Because let's be honest, racism is one of the biggest factors in terms of why us as the human society cannot progress into the next phase, which is us actually being more peaceful with each other in an ideal utopia. But another way that white terrorism can actually be ceased, and now we can have less cases and examples of white terrorism, is simply if we actually start being accountable. And this is where a lot of people will disagree on this, but I do not give a damn. The fact that we have so many people who either A, want to cover the shit up, or B, have too many people that feel like that it's not really an issue, that's a problem. We have to be accountable as the people and call out shit like how it is. So if you see a white person, shit, freaking last month, when before the whole thing that started the whole, to stop the Asian hate, where it case may be, dude came up into freaking downtown and shot up 7 to 8 Asians. Okay, you mean to tell me that ain't no example of white terrorism? Like we have to call out shit for what it is. But if it cracks like a dog, if it talks like a dog, and more importantly, if it operates as a duck, we need to be accountable and say, okay, this person shot these particular people for this particular reason. I can't stand it when people be like, oh, he just had a bad day. Oh, he just wanted to have some peace in the church. Oh, this happened. But yet, as soon as a black person does it, as soon as a black person does anything, eats while he's black, sleeps while he's black, eat a bag of Skittles while he's black, reading a book while he or she is black, even freaking do something as simple as just breathing as black, it's justified. What? We have to stop the whole hypocrisy. We got to call out shit for how it is, man. That's probably going to be the single greatest reason for how we can not just end white terrorism, but just end racism overall. Because it is this, without question, this is one of the most single greatest issues that I have, not just with white people, but also with all people. Now, I'm not saying that all white people are racist, nor am I saying that, us as black people need to, rebel and go all crazy or case may be. But what I am saying is that we all play a factor. We all play a crucial factor in this whole white terrorism nonsense. The only way that we're actually going to be able to get rid of it is if we come together, we call out the shit as it is, and we take the right precautions and the right measurements so that cases like this do not occur again. That's why I was so happy to find out that the officer that actually had his neck on George Floyd, that actually had his knee on his neck for 10 minutes straight, actually ended up being guilty. So I want to again shout out to the Minnesota Law Department. I know that President Joe Biden had something related to that in regards to his justice team. So shout out to President Joe Biden, and also shout out to all the people that work so diligently hard to at least get one of the main officer to actually be found guilty of the murder that he did to George Floyd as well. So shout out to him. we ain't forgetting about the other three officers now. But this is a real nice little nice great start nonetheless. So it looks like we got a prominent over here. Hey, what's going on, Protect Sports? How are you, man? How are you? No, I appreciate that. And it's just one of those things to where one of the other reasons why I feel that white terrorism still occurs today, even in this modern day age, is simply because we don't talk about it. I mean, we post it. I mean, we post it. We have it on our TikToks. We have it on our social media, or Facebook statuses, or a case may be. But we don't really talk about the real core of it. And until we get to a point to where we can actually have these conversations, not just with ourselves, but until we get into a place to where we can actually have these authentic conversations with everybody so that everybody can be on the exact same page, then that's when we'll start seeing racism. Then that's when we'll start seeing cases of, say, like George Floyd, who was killed by 10 minutes of four officers, three of them pinning him down, one of them having his whole goddamn knee on his neck. Or cases like Tamika Wilson, who was asleep studying for her damn exam, and come to find out, she over here getting shot and shit. Same thing for Breonna Taylor. Didn't do nothing wrong, was hanging out with her boo, where case may be, was asleep, and then cops showing up without a whole goddamn search warrant, just let it rip and shit. Like, we gotta stop the shit, man. We gotta stop the shit. Um, hey, what's going on, Janaes Corner? Ooh, uh-oh. There we go. Whew. I was about to drop this whole damn I was about to drop this entire phone out. Hey, what's going on, love? How are you? How are you doing this on this lovely Tuesday evening? Hey everyone, hope everyone's well. Thank you, thank you. I hope you're doing well as I'm doing. I hope you're doing well as well. I'm just explaining what white terrorism is, and in terms of how the different solutions we can go about ending white terrorism as well. So I definitely do appreciate you watching my live stream, and I definitely do appreciate you just tuning in, because as you know, I always tune into your live streams as well, despite the fact how I've been a little bit busy, but I do appreciate you tuning in. Um, Share it to my community tab. Thank you, Protect. I appreciate that, brother. I definitely appreciate that. Good, good. I'm glad you're doing well, Janaes Corner. I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad you're doing well. Um, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I missed or anything. Um, Let me guys know your thoughts and your opinions on white terrorism. Shout out to the three people that's in the live stream. Thank you so much. Shout out to the three people that's in the live stream. Let me know let me know your all's thoughts on the live stream. Yeah, thank you, Janaes Corner. Yeah, but let me know like your opinions, your thoughts of white terrorism, and what are some perspectives or opinions that you may have towards it. Because me personally, until we really get to a point to where we actually address it, we come up with the right precautions and the right measures to actually eradicate it for good, it's gonna keep being a damn problem. Looks like we got another comment. Charvin got the bus driver uppercut with Hayukin. Like, I wish he had gotten that Hayukin freaking the month when he killed George Floyd, but nonetheless, Devon Jarrett got what he deserved, and I pray that he gets life in prison. I mean, we might as well say he's gonna be in life in prison anyway, because we already know that the second degree murder is probably going to average out to be like 25 years. Second degree manslaughter would probably be about 15, so that's 40 right there. And then the third degree murder, that could range from anywhere between 5 to maybe 10 years. It really depends on how it's all set up in Minnesota, because it varies depending on state to state. So it definitely varies depending on state to state. Um, at all. This is another, and this is probably going to be the biggest way to how we as the people can actually stop white terrorism. Um, and this is more so going to be geared to people like myself, people like black people. We have to be proactive. You want to know one of the best ways we can stop white terrorism, black people, is if we actually look out for each other, if we actually care for each other, if we actually be more accountable and tell each other, like, hey, bro, if you need anything, I got you. Hey, sister, if you need anything, I got you. As much as I blame white people for their sinful and grotesque ass ways since the beginning of time, black people, we gotta own up to that shit too. We gotta own up to that shit. Um, I'm not really sure, honestly. Shit, we terrorize ourselves looking for the oops and shit. Right, exactly, Protect, exactly. Perfect example, perfect example. Earlier this morning, or excuse me, not earlier this morning, earlier this afternoon, I was at work, was on my 30-minute break, where it case may be, and to make long story short, I noticed a black boy. Fire was about maybe 13, 14 years old, not too far from my job site. As I was coming back from me giving myself some food, I noticed that this 13, 14-year-old black boy was getting bullied, not just by white kids, but also by black kids too. And so I came in and I said, hey, what the fuck, what the hell is going on? Like, y'all not about to bully this kid or whatever the case may be. So that turned into a whole interesting roast session, where the case may be. But the point that I'm making of this exact particular example is that if we don't look out for each other, if we don't at least try to be there for each other, where the case may be, then this whole, it doesn't matter whether it's racism, white terrorism, where the case may be, we're gonna still having these whole goddamn examples of people getting brutally shot, people getting brutally beaten, where the case may be. Why? Because we so stuck on all everything else that's going on, the whole Cardi B's in the world, the whole Kanye West is in the world, all these goddamn Throw Baby songs, and stupid all this other crap. Like, we as people of melanin descent have to create more authentic, we have to create a more authentic center for ourselves, right? Because part of the problem is that we haven't really been, the only time we link up together is when someone that's famous either dies, or when someone does die all of a sudden, or if it has something related to something that appeals to us as a people. And I'm sick of that shit. I'm sorry. I gotta call that shit out. Like, I just can't. I just can't. I couldn't hold that in. So shoot, whites show us more love sometimes than with ourselves, bro. Damn shit. Exactly. And we have to get better at that. We have to stop promoting these goddamn artists that really don't give a fuck about us, but rather care about themselves. We gotta stop, wanting to be turning up all the goddamn time. And this ain't just towards the brothers. This is towards the sisters too. If you guys remember, I had two live streams last month. One of them was 5 things that black men need to do. And then the other one was 5 things that black women need to do. So for all you new subscribers, or the people that's probably going to watch this during the playback, I first suggest y'all to watch those live streams that be under the playlist, Matters with the People. And then 2, I would suggest that you actively listen to the things that, not only that I had those lists for the 5 things that black men and black women should do, but also just start looking out for each other. I guarantee you, you can book it. I guarantee you that if black people were to stop prioritizing these fake ass celebrities, this fake ass satanic ass music, we would have stopped putting so much energy in terms of all this other crap that's been separating us since the beginning of time, and actually focus on the things that's actually going to help us come more peaceful and equitable, not just as a community, but also throughout the entire world. We wouldn't be having these problems that we're having today. Because shit, case in point, look what happened when that whole incident towards the Asians happened. Look Look how unified they were. Look at how Germans and Russians, whatever the case may be, what happened whenever an officer or a lawyer or whatever case would be decided to beat up a person or shoot somebody, whatever case it be, they right at that goddamn fool's door ready to kill his ass or her ass or he or she. Like, and I'm not condoning that people should do that, but we need to be representing for ourselves entirely and not just for our close buzz or a case of me. We need to be showing up for all of our people all the damn time. Because I guarantee you, if we did that a lot much more, then we wouldn't be dealing with the issues that we're still dealing with. Not just with just white people and white terrorism, but also with all issues as well. That's all I'm saying. And I think Protect, you definitely get where I'm coming from. Our families need to get together for more positive things instead of funerals. We need to make more positive music. We need to show love to each other instead of me mugging each other. Exactly. But I cannot tell you the amount of times to where I would literally either be walking to work or whatever the case may be. Shoot, the other day when I was at the mall this past weekend, I had said hello to, I would say, 5 to 10 brothers and sisters. And the only person that said hello to me back was a person that was disabled. The only one. Everyone else that I say, hey, how you doing today? Or hey, you have a blessed day. Where it can it be, they got the same ass reaction. Or if it's not that reaction, they respond to me by some stupid ass, dumb ass question that a lot of people, and particularly a lot of people in the DMV area, know this question all too often. Hey, yo, bro, you got a lighter? Hey, yo, bro, you got a lighter, bro? Hey, bro, you got a cig, bro? Hey, bro, you got some weed, bro? No, I ain't got no goddamn lighter at all. I ain't got no lighter. I ain't got no weed. Stop focusing on that shit, bro. We don't need to be focusing on no goddamn lighter. We don't need to be focusing on no goddamn fucking weed or none of that other dumb shit that unfortunately black people and all people have been focusing on the wrong shit for a whole long ass fucking time. I can't stand that shit. Can't stand it. Absolutely can't stand it. I don't mean to go off, y'all, but it just pisses me off. It really does. People act like Young Boy, Little Baby, Chief Keef, Big Flop, and etc. idolize too much. They act like him too much. Yeah, they do. They really do. They really do. And it's you know. And here's the ironic thing. This is probably the last thing that I'll say to you. The irony of it is that there's so much more. There's so much more positive role models, not just within the black community for black people to be more tuned to, but also like towards just people in general. There's so many more ways for us as the people to be more loving and positive and caring towards each other. But you want to know the single greatest reason why we don't tend to really be focused on those positive aspects, or kids would be priorities, environments. That's what it comes down to. And I've said this throughout all my live streams. And shout out to my father that told me this, if your priorities are not set to where you're trying to not only look out for yourself, but you're also not looking out for, say, like your loved ones or a case may be, shit is going to go left. It all comes down to environments. Who you decide to hang out with, who you decide to listen to, what you decide to eat, how you manage your diet. And when I say your diet, I don't mean as in just like the food. I mean your mental diet, your spiritual diet, or whatever case may be. Your patterns of behavior are going to show the action for themselves in terms of how you go about certain shit. And the problem with most people is that us as a people, we have, rather than actually focus on those patterns of behavior that's actually going to allow us to be unified as one, we've instead have focused on the patterns of behavior that separate us. So we focus more so in terms of race. We focus more so in terms of, ideology, for example, in terms of government. So whether people want to be a Republican or Democrat, perfect example, or case would be. So it's just gotten to a point to where I've just been like, forget it. Like, cause I'll keep it a buck with y'all. I used to be like that. I used to not have my prayers together. I used to be on that same way in terms of like, oh, it doesn't matter, what we do at KCB. But sometimes you gotta look yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, who am I, and what the hell do I want? And more importantly, how are my actions not just harming me, but how are they harming the people that I care about, or the people that are around me or that come across me on a daily basis? If I don't want someone to disrespect me or do something big, wild, and crazy, then why the hell would you do that to someone else? Golden rule, people. Golden rule. Golden rule. I like the music and stuff, but damn, Slim, it's just entertainment, bro. Stop acting like this is cool. Why? But look. At least you honest. At least you listen to them, and there ain't nothing wrong with you listening to them. Just as long as you're not out in the backyard with some gun or talking all that big wild shit like they be doing, we good, bro. That's all I care about. I ain't trying to tell nobody who not listen to her at KCB. All I'm saying is that as long as people don't be doing all that big wild crap of trying to kill people or harm people, where at KCB, then by all means, live your life, boo boo. Live your life. I can't even talk right now, but I'm probably gonna wrap it up here, y'all. We are at the 42-minute mark of the live stream, so I definitely want to give a shout out to the people who is actually here in the live stream, and to the Protect, you silly, you stupid, bro. Where the hey, yo, go ahead. You wild. You are wild. The link. Okay, sure. Let me see if I can do that on my phone. Actually, so this is why. Oh, I can't stand when I gotta do this on my phone. Give me a few seconds, Protect. I wonder if I can. Wait, hold up. Maybe this is it. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Okay. I think I got it. Or do I? Let me see if I can message it to you. No. Don't do that. No. I don't think it's gonna let me actually post this in the comment section. At least not that I think of. That's okay, Protect. Don't even worry about it. Because, mind you, you know how it is on the phone, bro. And I'm on a Galaxy 2, so yeah, you already know. But I do want to give a shout out to my boy, Protest Sports Network. I also want to give a shout out to my girl, Janaes Corner. Please subscribe to their channels. They are some of the most dynamic YouTube creators that I know. So please subscribe to them. And also, for more AV, Automatic Victory, and Matters of the People content, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to AV, Automatic Victory, where we all win together through peace, love, and transparency. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much. Please be sure to hit that like button and share the video as well. So I hope I was actually able to reach out to a few people and kind of just clarify a little bit more things on white terrorism, what it is, and how we can actually eradicate it so that we don't have to worry about incidences of, say, George Floyd or all these other. The list goes on and on and on. And I'll say this as my final thoughts towards this topic. In regards to white terrorism, we can't just blame white people for the issues that we're still having with white terrorism. At the end of the day, it all comes down to accountability. If we're not really trying to better ourselves, protect ourselves, protect our loved ones, protect our peers, just protect ourselves as a human race from toxic, negative ass energies that occur throughout a whole daily basis, then who are we to say that, these problems should be end or these issues shouldn't be occurring if we're not even trying to eradicate the problem? Or rather, if we're not even trying to talk about it. So that's all I got for y'all. Let me make sure. I think I just saw a new comment on here. Let me make sure that I didn't miss anybody. Um, oh, appreciate that, Antonio. I didn't even see your comments. Yeah, I was about to end this live too. Appreciate that, Antonio. I appreciate that, man. Um, but yeah, man, that's gonna be me. This is gonna. I'm about to just sign off because I am starving. Um, the next episode of Matters of the People will be Sunday at 7:15 p.m. So if you guys have any suggestions in terms of topics or case it be, please, subscribe to my channel first. Then you can follow me at AB_sips_T. That is my Instagram handle. That is probably the best way you'll actually be able to get in contact with me. So it is AYYB_sips_T. That is the best way that you're actually going to be able to get in contact with me as well. Another way you can get in contact with me through social media is also by going on Facebook. So I do have a Facebook group known as the AV Nation. So appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys on the next podcast. It matters of the people. So stay safe, stay blessed.